All right, let's talk about the absolutely astronomical world of tech CEO compensation. But, this isn't just about looking at jaw-dropping numbers. A CEO's paycheck is actually a fascinating window into a company's real strategy, its priorities, and, yeah, its vision for the future. And as we're about to see, some of those visions are way more audacious than you can possibly imagine.
It seems like a pretty simple question, right? But the answers coming out of Silicon Valley are, well, they're anything but simple. They range from the purely symbolic to the absolutely stratospheric. And it all kicks off with one unbelievable number.
$1 trillion. That's not a typo. That's Tesla's answer to the question of CEO pay. It is by far the largest potential corporate pay package in history, all aimed at one person. And this really sets the stage for our first and most audacious case study.
So, Tesla isn't just offering a big payday here. No, they're making a completely unprecedented bet on their visionary CEO, Elon Musk. The goal? To keep him laser focused on transforming Tesla from just a car company into a full blown AI and robotics juggernaut. It's a super high risk, high growth vision that, in their view, demands an equally high stakes incentive.
So how in the world does this actually work? Well, it's not like he gets a giant check. The whole plan is structured in what they call tranches, or basically portions, that only get unlocked over time. For him to get paid, Musk has to hit these incredibly ambitious goals. We're talking market caps soaring into the multiple trillions, and that has to be paired with massive innovation milestones, like actually creating a robotaxi network or mass-producing humanoid robots. Each time he clears one of these massive hurdles, he unlocks a new piece of Tesla stock. It's simple, really. No milestones, no money.
And this quote, it just perfectly captures the whole culture around this deal. Musk himself joked about their shareholder meetings, which have had things like dancing robots, by the way, being bangers. It's just a reflection of the high stakes, high energy, and let's be honest, high drama world of Tesla. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. A Delaware court actually threw out his previous and much smaller $56 billion package. But then, in a pretty stunning move, Tesla shareholders voted to approve this new, far larger plan. It's this massive tug of war between legal oversight and what the shareholders want. But, while Tesla shareholders back their CEO, sometimes investors pull in the exact opposite direction.
So while Tesla shareholders basically went all in on Musk, sometimes investors push back, and they can push back hard. Our next case study shows what happens when shareholders decide a CEO's pay has just gone too far.
Just take a look at these numbers for Apple's Tim Cook. In 2022, his compensation was nearly $100 million. But after shareholders really started voicing their concerns, his target pay for 2023 was slashed by over 40%, down to $49 million. That is the power of an investor vote in action.
So the crucial point here is how they did it. Apple didn't just cut the total number. They specifically reduced his stock awards, and, this is really important, they tied a much larger portion of them to performance targets. So his pay is now less of a sure thing and much more directly linked to how well Apple actually performs. It was a clear move to reassure investors who are really focused on stable, steady leadership. Okay, now let's look at another giant figure. This is the 2025 compensation for Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. Again, it's a huge number, but the philosophy behind it is what's really key here.
This chart tells you the whole story. For a mature, enterprise-focused giant like Microsoft, the board really emphasizes that over 95% of Nadella's compensation is at risk. Almost all of his stock grants are performance-based. They're not just tied to him sticking around. If Microsoft hits its targets for growth and stock price, he gets rewarded, and rewarded handsomely. If it doesn't, well, his pay plummets. Now, let's pivot to a totally different model, the founder CEO. For leaders like Mark Zuckerberg and Jensen Huang, their annual paycheck is it's almost irrelevant because their real wealth is all tied up in the company they built from the ground up. Yep, $1. This is Mark Zuckerberg's official annual salary. It's a classic Silicon Valley move, right? The message is supposed to be clear. My focus is on long-term value for shareholders, not some yearly bonus. But of course, that $1 isn't the whole story. Because while his salary is $1, Meta spent over $24 million on his other compensation. And what's that for? Mostly, it covers the massive costs of his personal security and his private air travel. I mean, when you're the face of a company like Meta, personal safety becomes a huge corporate expense.
And here's another fascinating founder story. For an entire decade, as NVIDIA's stock skyrocketed, and I mean an incredible 22,000%, CEO Jensen Huang didn't take a raise. So why not? Well, because his massive stake in the company was already making him a billionaire many times over. It was only recently, in 2025, that the board decided to bring his pay package up to around $50 million, really just to get it more in line with what his peers are making.
All right, next up is a strategy that's designed for a marathon, not a sprint. Some companies use these massive but infrequent stock grants to really lock in their CEOs for the long haul and make sure they stay focused on goals that take years and years to achieve. Just check out this chart of Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai's compensation. See how it's incredibly spiky? He gets a relatively modest package in most years, but then every few years a company gives him a mega grant, like the $226 million one in 2022. It's just a massive incentive that's meant to keep him motivated for the next several years.
Amazon took a similar but slightly different approach with their new CEO, Andy Jassy. When he took over from Jeff Bezos, they didn't set up a yearly bonus structure. Instead, they gave him one single massive stock award valued at $212 million. And it was structured to last an entire decade, really ensuring leadership stability during a super pivotal transition.
The structure of this award is really the key. Vesting just means when he actually gets his hands on the stock. And the bulk of this award vests in the back half of the decade. That's a powerful incentive for him to stay. But this approach also drew some criticism. Unlike Nadella's or Musk's pay, this big grant wasn't tied to specific performance hurdles, which led to a pretty low approval rating from shareholders.
Okay, so we've looked at moonshots, we've seen pay cuts, founder salaries, and these long-term lock-ins. So what does it all mean when you put it together? Well, each of these approaches is kind of like a playbook that reveals a company's core strategy.
This table really puts it all together nicely. First, you've got Tesla's Moonshot Bet, which is built for a super high-risk company with extreme performance hurdles. Then there's Microsoft's clean pay-for-performance model, perfect for a mature company where over 95% of pay is at risk. Contrast that with Apple, where high investor influence forced a pay cut to ensure stewardship and stability. Over at Meta, it's all about founder control, a token salary because the founder's interests and the company's interests are one and the same. And finally, you have Alphabet and Amazon using long-term retention, locking in their leaders with these massive grants to navigate really complex, multi-year challenges. Each playbook reveals a totally different path to what they see as success. So at the end of the day, the big takeaway is this. CEO pay is so much more than just a headline number. It's a story a company tells about itself, what it values, where it's headed, and what it truly believes it takes to win. Whether that's betting big on a visionary or ensuring stable, steady leadership for years to come, the paycheck really is the strategy. And that leaves us with a final, really provocative question. Are these massive pay packages a necessary price we have to pay for groundbreaking innovation and leadership? Or are they a sign of a system of excess that's kind of disconnected from reality? The answer, as we've seen, is really complicated. It's a debate that's at the very heart of modern capitalism, and it's one that's going to continue to evolve with every new tech giant that comes along. Thanks for watching.